doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so last summer I talked about the first two titles in the NES Castlevania trilogy. Today I talk about the third and final installment, and honestly, the best title in that original trilogy, and one of the best titles in the entire series. So I could just jump into it because you guys should already know what it is. Today's game is Castlevania III, Dracula's Curse. Okay, so this title is actually a prequel to the very first Castlevania title. It's one of several prequels in the series. Castlevania Adventure was a prequel. Lament of Innocence is a prequel. So it leads to some confusion in the Castlevania timeline. Let's just leave that there. Dracula's Curse, Castlevania III, is set in the 1400s in Eastern Europe, just like the other titles in the series. And you're cast in the role of Trevor Belmont, not Simon Belmont. And because of the Belmont superhuman abilities and things like that, they are feared by townspeople. But the townspeople still approach Trevor, asking him to rid the countryside of Dracula. Now, this Castlevania title, unlike other titles in the series, unlike the earlier titles in the series, is linear in that it doesn't have the backtracking and things of Simon's Quest, but it does have branching paths. So that was a first for this series. This title also featured multiple playable characters. We'll get to that in a second. The game is pretty big. Like I said, it has a number of different environments, a number of different paths you can take. And you can theoretically get through this game without running into any of those extra playable characters. Now, you may be asking, where do those extra characters come into play? Well, one of them is a wizard, Cypher Belnaze. And you find Cypher during your quest. You fight Cypher. When you defeat Cypher, Cypher becomes a member of your party, an assist character, if you will. There's a ghost pirate, Grant the Nasty. Yeah, it's a terrible name. And the same thing happens. And finally, the third and final of those extra characters is Alucard, Dracula's son. And you can only have one of those characters with you at a time, so you have to choose wisely. Usually, most players that I know usually go with Alucard or Grant, because Grant has climbing abilities. Alucard has the ability to transform into a bat, and he has the fireball throwing ability of his father. So either one of those characters is a good choice. Cypher is a good choice also, but Cypher isn't a very popular choice, so there's that. You see those characters again actually during your playthrough of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where you play as Alucard for the bulk of the game, but you come across a point in the game where you will have to fight fake doppelgangers of Trevor, Cypher, and Grant. Dracula's Curse is an awesome title. The Famicom version is actually a little bit better because it featured a more advanced sound chip than the one that could be used in the NES. So while the sound is scaled back, and religious symbols were taken out of the US version, it's still a really, really solid title, and probably one of, like I said earlier, one of the best titles in the Castlevania series, bar none. Finding copies of Dracula's Curse shouldn't be a problem. It's a Castlevania title. They sold. Now, how much you're willing to pay for that title, that's what remains to be seen, because a lot of resellers, because of the popularity of the series, ramp up the price. So be wary of that. I personally am, if there's any series that I consider myself a fanboy of, it's the Castlevania series. Even though I'm not as familiar with the handheld titles in the series, I am really, 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 really fond of the console titles in the series, except for the ones on Nintendo 64, but, you know, those don't count because they were terrible. This has been 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow.